Coffee break with me. Woo! Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. How are you today? Okay, so maybe this palette isn't like the hot ticket item. Right now, people are losing their panties over the Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture palette, but you guys know me. If it's trendy, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not a cool kid, you guys. Sorry, what can I say? So I've been using the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette for probably a few months now. When did it come out? I want to say maybe 2 months ago. Honestly, I don't know my facts, but I've been using it for what seems to be months already. The last, I don't know, 10 Get Ready With Me's. It's the palette that I've used. It's the palette that I'm using right now. And if you guys are here to know my opinion on this palette and is it worth the hype, I'm going to go with a yes. All right, this coffee break is over. No. So I wanted to do a short review on this palette, give you guys my honest feedback on the details about it, why I like it, if it's worth the money, or rather why it's a good purchase, or if you need it or not, you know, maybe just to demystify what the point of this palette is. So when this palette came out, for some reason, I don't know if it's like lunar or if it's the season or what's going on, but I feel like with every major palette launch recently, people seem to have kind of a problem. And I'm kind of becoming suspicious that maybe we're just tired of so many new releases. It's making us a little, you know what I mean? So it's almost like we're looking for faults in products. So when this palette came out, there were a lot of swatch pictures that were leaked where the swatches looked horrendous. And I remember one of my friends, Vero, screenshotting a picture and sending it to me and said, did you know about this palette and do we need it? And my honest response was like, no, I don't need another palette. Like, I'm done with new palettes, but I am a massive fan of palettes, warm browns, siennas, burnt oranges, like that's my jam. So it kind of pained me inside a little bit to say no, but I was like, do I really need it? It is permanent, so maybe when I see it in person, I'll decide. And so I was a little underwhelmed when I knew it was coming out. But I just feel like recently, we just seem to have a problem with all these big new launches. Like, we find the one little thing we don't like about it and we turn it into such a big deal, and like that's the end all be all of that poor palette. Like, hey, crucify it, you know? And it's like, it's just makeup. So let's get into the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette. This is a palette from Urban Decay. It's their newest launch. It is the newest family member to the Naked line. It does have brothers and sisters. All of the Naked palettes are in the same family. They all have 12 shades, and the entirety of this palette weighs 0.6 ounces, so a little bit more than half an ounce. So it's going to be up there with the price point of higher end palettes. Anywhere from $45 to like $55 is where not luxury brand palettes, but high-end palettes range. Now, the reason that this is a great addition to the Naked family is because this is the Warm Browns palette. So if you guys are familiar with the other Naked products, which I do have in this little situation happening over here. You guys know how I feel about two of these palettes too. So a few of these palettes I actually keep because of reference. You know what I mean? Like educational reference, but I'm actually not a fan. And I'm not a fan because I'm just not naturally a fan of certain colors. So if you guys follow the Naked line, their first launch was the original Naked palette, and this is a palette with bronzy hues. That was the theme of this palette. So there's the combination of finishes, bronzy hues. The Naked 2, this is again 12 shades. This is like taupey metallic hues. So you have the bronze, the taupe, then you got the rose. These are the rosy hues for the redheads and the blondes that look really, really awesome in beautiful mauvey rosy shades. So this is your rosy mauve palette, right? Yes, mauve. The one that no one liked and is on clearance everywhere is the Naked Smoky. In fact, this isn't even on the Sephora site when you go under the Naked collection. For some reason, people aren't fans of the Naked Smoky, and this is self-explanatory. This is the Smoky palette. So you're gonna have your like charcoal and gray tones or hues with a little splash of plum. This one is a natural organic inclusion or addition to the Naked family because they did not have one that has the warm browns. This is the Amber Hued Naked palette. So you have the bronze, the taupe, the rose, the smoky, and the amber hued. So this palette has 12 shades. They're all a combination of finishes, and it's gonna be the amber hued palette that focuses on rich siennas, burnt oranges, and warm browns. That is how this palette is promoted. If you don't like warm browns, burnt oranges, rich siennas, you're not gonna like this palette. So I feel like a lot of the almost negative around this palette, besides the horrible leaked swatches, was that it was an all warm palette. This isn't all inclusive, like it doesn't include all of us. Like all of us can't use this palette. We don't all like warm palettes. Yeah, but we also don't all like cool smoky palettes, you know? So it's one of those things where, like, when this came out, my review on this was heinous. I was like, it's awful, I hate it, it's rose and like mauve and it makes me look jaundiced and da-da-da-da-da. Like, I didn't like it. I still don't like it. I use it, and whenever I use it, you guys ask me, what are you wearing? It looks amazing, and I feel like I can pull it off because I have neutral undertones, but it's not my jam. Like, I don't think I want to do like a mauvey rose gold eye. I never think that. I always think I want to do a burnt orange, rich, warm brown. That's just what I gravitate towards. So I guess some of the stink around this was that it's not one of those palettes that everyone on the playground can play with. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm going to do is I'll show you guys a close-up of the palette so you guys can see the shades, and I'll also describe the colors to you in case you're wondering. Obviously, I'm going to do finger swatches. Yes, I am a fan of finger swatches. I am a fan of finger swatches because guess what? When you go to Sephora or Ulta and you stick your finger in the palette, you're doing a finger swatch. You're looking at the back of your finger. You're swiping it on your skin or on the top of your hand. That's how you do it. You know, I'm not going to do brush swatches because I feel like each of us has our own way of analyzing if a product is going to work for us. We love makeup so much that we already know what to look for. So when you see my finger swatch, you're going to know what to look for. When I see someone's swatches, I automatically know what to look for. If there's skipping in the color pattern, if it's caking, you know, if it's almost flaky as opposed to like a smooth creamy powder, like I already know what I'm gonna look for and if it's something that's gonna work for me or not. So let's go through the palette colors one by one and break down the shades and the brush for you guys. So this palette comes with 12 different colors. They are all exclusive brand new shades to this palette. That means you can't find them anywhere else. This isn't like the original Naked palette where you can find Sin in another palette. It comes with a double-sided blending brush. There is a flat shader side and then a blending side. I don't know why. I never actually use these brushes. I don't know why I keep them. I feel like it's nice and cute to keep it all together, but it's not something that I, like, you know, intend on using at all. Then we're gonna go through the colors left to right. The first color is the color Ounce, and it's an ivory shimmer. I thought it was going to be a satin color. It's described as a shimmer, but I do use it as a brow bone highlight. I am wearing it today, and I wear it every single time as a brow bone highlight that I use the Naked Heat palette. The second color is Chaser, and Chaser is a light nude matte, and I really love Chaser as a transition shade when I'm trying to do more of a very dramatic look or an everyday daytime look. So when I'm doing a very dramatic look, I use that as one of my transition shades. So I'll use 2 or 3 just to get a really big gradient in all this retail space. Then we have Sauced, and Sauced is a soft terracotta matte. That's another one of my favorite transition shades. Low Blow is a brown matte. Another transition shade, primarily a crease color. Then we have Lumbre, and lumbre means fire in Spanish, and it's described as a copper shimmer with gold pearl shift. It's a very stunning shade. I'd rather use them foiled, and I'd rather use them with my finger. So if I'm not gonna foil them with a brush and Max Fix Plus, I'm gonna use my finger. He Devil is described as a burnt red matte. It's a beautiful crease color. I am completely in love with this color. I feel like they need to do a lipstick in that shade. Then we have Dirty Talk, and Dirty Talk is is described as a metallic burnt red. I hardly use this one. In fact, I don't think I've actually used it on my actual eyeballs. I've swatched it, but I've never actually used it. Then we have Scorched. Scorched is one of my favorites, and Scorched is described as a metallic deep red with gold micro shimmer. It's a stunning color. I don't care if it's micro shimmer, metallic, however it's described, it's beautiful on the lid. Then we have Cayenne, a deep terracotta matte, and Cayenne does not look like cayenne pepper, so I don't know why they named it that. It looks more like Hungarian paprika if you ask me. But that probably doesn't have the same like catch to it. This is Hungarian paprika. It's a really beautiful color, stunning in the crease. Stunning in the crease. Then we have Fuego, which is a burgundy matte, another really beautiful color on the lower lash line or in the crease. Then we have Ashes, and Ashes is a deep reddish brown matte. I use that just concentrating it on the corners or the outer edges of my lid or on the crease, so almost like that outer V section, and it really does a beautiful, almost, I don't know, like a sultry, almost wannabe smoky eye. It's also a really good color to do all over the lid and then top it with one of the shimmer shades. So you're creating depth or stacking those shadows. And then the last color in here is my favorite color in the entire palette, and that's the color Ember. Ember is described as a deep metallic coppery burgundy. This color is so unique because it's so beautiful. It's metallic, it's copper, but it almost has like a deep shift to it. Depending on what colors you pair it with, it almost looks like a sexy, smoky, coppery, shifty, shifty color. I'll show you guys a picture or some footage if I can find it where I'm wearing that on the lid, and you can't tell if it's like a shifting shade or if it's a copper or if I did a black eyeshadow underneath or if it's stacked on a chocolate brown. Like, you really can't tell because it's one of those like mystifying, transforming robots in disguise type colors, you know? It's so unique. So that's the breakdown of the 12 colors. Now, the biggest question that I get is the quality. The quality's great. I feel like it's the same as all the other Naked palettes. I don't get that much kick up. I'm a beast with my shadows, so I will get some. I do get fallout, nothing major, but I've already learned my makeup habits. I know how I behave with my products. I know that I'm a little bit more aggressive than most people, so I take precautions when I do my makeup. I use specific tools. I apply an extra layer of powder when I know I'm gonna do my eyeshadow so that I don't ruin my foundation. There's extra steps that I take to make my makeup life easier. You know what I'm saying? So there's that. It stays on all day. I have hardly ever used primer when I use this eyeshadow palette. I've gotten so lazy when it comes down to eyeshadow primer that I rarely use it. If I do, I use the Benefit Stay Don't Stray, or I use whatever's left over from my concealer on my beauty blender. But aside from that, I'm not like, oh my god, it needs primer, or it's gonna like totally break down on your lids. Now, the second most asked question that I've gotten is, well, I have the Modern Renaissance palette, do I need that? Or is it true that it's just like the Modern Renaissance palette? Or I want to get the Modern Renaissance or the Naked Heat, but I can't decide which one. Listen, you guys know that this is my third human child. I am completely in love with the Modern Renaissance palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills. To me, I don't feel like they're the same palette. I don't feel like, oh, they're mutually exclusive. Like if you have one, you can't have the other. I honestly feel like the Anastasia Modern Renaissance palette is a more, what's the word? It's a more fuchsia, magenta, burgundy with a splash of like burnt oranges, as opposed to the Naked Heat palette, which is completely warm browns. Like if you were to umbrella the colors, it's an umbrella of warm browns, because out of warm brown you can get the burnt orange or the rich sienna. But out of the Modern Renaissance palette, if you look at it, there's a lot of cool in there. There's that cool mauvey taupe. You have all those like fuchsia magenta type shades. You can see my nail polish is a hot pink glitter. Next to this color down here, it's bringing out the pink. There is absolutely zero pink in the Naked Heat. 0. So there's that. To me, they don't look the same. To me, I would have both. I would buy both. I bought both, you know. So if you are a fan of the colors, the shade range that you see in front of you, I don't think that you should feel like, oh, if you have one, you can't have the other. So there's my 2 cents on these palettes. So is it worth the hype, the Naked Heat? I don't know if it's worth the negative hype that it received. I do think that it's worth some attention, but I'm also kind of relieved that the Subculture palette came out and took a little heat off of this, pun intended, because it's a great palette. The good thing is that it's permanent, so you guys can go into a store, see for yourself, and see if it's worth it. Swatch it up, see if you like it, see if it's something that you would enjoy. My only complaint, one complaint is, I'm going to show you guys a slideshow of all the looks that I've done with the Naked Heat if I've taken pictures. I'll show you a slideshow, if. I've used it more than I've actually documented, so I'm trying to think of if I can actually gather slideshow worthy. After a certain point, the looks do start to look very similar. Why? Because they're all warm browns. So it's gonna happen. But I like this palette, and I feel like that's the premise behind all Naked palettes, is that it's a neutral palette that serves from day to night. So if you are a fair-skinned, blonde, or red-haired, beautiful woman that wants to find your naked, you want to identify with your Naked palette, you go for the Naked 3. You know, if you're blonde hair, green eyes, or whatever, you go with the Naked 3. Oh, you know, if you are someone that prefers bronzy shades, you have luscious tan skin, you go with the original Naked. Like, if you want to be that appropriate, you find your Naked. You identify to your Naked palette. So it's gonna be a degree of the same amount of colors. You know what I mean? Like a different degree. You're gonna go from day to night with the same color scheme, if that makes sense. So is it a con or a complaint? I don't think so. I think it's just a fact. So if I identify with warm browns, my looks are gonna look similar because they're all warm browns, but it's just gonna be the degree of daytime, nighttime, sexy, sultry. You know what I mean? It's just, it's in the family of warm browns. It's gonna be in the family of mauvey rose shades. It's gonna be in the family of smoky colors. So I don't see it as a con at this point. When I was gonna do this review initially a few weeks ago, I was like, man, all my looks are starting to look the same. This sucks. But I was like, well, isn't that the point? But with varying degrees of daytime, nighttime, sexy, casual, everyday work. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the point of a Naked palette. Anyway, now I'm just getting very, very chatty at this point. So $54, I love it. I think it's worth the hype. Check it out the next time you are at your Sephora or Ulta's. It is available at all retailers that do carry Urban Decay. And I think you'd really like it if you like warm browns, burnt oranges, or rich siennas. Ember hued tones. There you go. There you have it, you guys. Anyway, I will have all that information listed in the description box below, where you can get the palette, how much it costs. Get ready with me using the palette, and I think that's it. You know what to do. If you found this video useful, entertaining, or learned something,